Hi, and welcome to What is Claudia? Claudia is the new soft phone from NFON. It's an application suite that works on Macs, PCs, Android, or iOS. It's either a web browser or can be installed as a full-fat exe from an MSI file. But if it's on a browser, it's supported on Chrome, Firefox, and Mozilla Firefox and Safari. It's also supported on Mac, PC, and obviously for mobile phone, Android, and iOS. The web version, the WebRTC version, does now come with a meet and share and video screen sharing feature, which we'll be showing in a couple of seconds. Or if you want, you can have the desktop version, or you can have the mobile phone version. Again, once you've purchased the relevant license, and then you can install it on as many devices, up to 9 devices as you wish to, if you've got the premium license. It's as simple as download the application, put your username and password in, and hey presto, you're up and running. Without further ado, let's show you how you can connect to this application. So open up your web browser, go to the relevant URL, and in this case, the URL that we're going to use is start.claudia.com. You put in your username, which is your email address that you have been given, or your password, and log in. Now I'm going to log in twice so I can demonstrate a call to and from a particular user. So I'm going to also log in as a second user as well, for the purposes of this demonstration. So going back to the first user, here you can see the extension number is 203, and this belongs to Daniel Schiffer. You can see there are various users that are available. If they're green, that means that they're actually free and available, and you could call them. If they're red at any point, it means that they are on the phone. For instance, if I do one now, you can see that this user goes red because they're now on the phone. And as soon as they become free, you can see they are green again. You can also search for someone on here by dialing their extension number. So I could actually dial their extension number, or if you've got a user that you haven't selected on here, you can put their name in. For instance, if I want to find Katrine, I can actually just put a name in there on the search bar. This will find everything to do with this user, whether it's a contact, an extension, whether they got a fax service or a conference. On the top bar, I also have some buttons that I can depress, and we'll come on to showing you what these do. So the first one is setting your profile. We'll talk about profiles in a second when we come on to settings, but this enables you to quickly set your profile to another format. So it could be on holiday or a meeting, or you're away from your desk, and this will then set all of your calls to predeterminedly go where you've set them to go to. So for instance, if you're on holiday, you can send all your calls to your colleague or to voicemail, or if you're in a meeting, you could send them to another hunt group or queue, whatever you want to send them to. Next one along is do not disturb. By depressing that, that pushes it into do not disturb, and that stops any calls coming in. The next one along will stop the ringer on or off. And the last one along will determine what you're using as your microphone and possibly your camera if you're using a separate camera, etc. So you can choose your audio and melody settings for this application. I'm just going to do the same for this one as well. Perfect. Now, easiest one, obviously all these users are on here. These are what's known as BLF keys or Busy Lamp Field keys, and we'll come on to how you can configure those later on. But I want to ring a particular user, not a problem. I can ring Louis if I wanted to, just by literally either dialing Louis's extension number here or using the keypad on my phone, or I can drag and drop over the top and ring Louis by just dragging his username over to the field on the right-hand side and letting go. It will now ring Louis. Louis will answer the call. He's now answered the call. That's great. Perfect. I'm on the phone to Louis, and I can see that I'm on the phone to Louis because he's red because he's on the phone there as well. But here I'm on the phone to Louis, and it tells you how long I've been on the phone to at the top hand side there. That's great. But Louis might say, well, do you want to sort of bring someone else in, or do you want to transfer me to someone? Not a problem. I can transfer Louis straight away to Ray by literally dragging Ray over the top, and I have two options. We can conference call us all together, or I could transfer the call. So in this scenario, I'm going to transfer the call, drop the phone down, and there we go. I've now transferred the call straight to Ray. So you can see that Louis is now talking directly to Ray. Perfect. Okay, we're going to do that again. This time I'm going to do a conference call. So I call Louis. Louis answers the phone. This time I'm going to do a conference call with Ray. So again, I drag Ray across onto the top here, but in this time, instead of doing the transfer button, I'm going to do the conference call button. Click on that one. That will then place everyone on hold for a second, ring the relevant extensions, and you can see, look, here we go. We're all in a conference call together. I can literally drop the call. I can mute the particular user. So I've created an instant conference with a number of users. And I could continue to do this with other users if they were free and available. Not a problem to do that. Okay, this time I'm going to ring Louis again. Louis answers. But this time I actually want to upgrade that call. I want to make that call from a voice call into a video call. And as long as you pre-selected your video here to be the correct video source that you want, I can now select the video button here. This will instantly turn on the video for the relevant person. Now the other user needs to turn on their video as well. So click on there. And now you can see, here we go, literally the video is available for both users. Now I can now upgrade that again, and that upgrade now could be to screen share. I want to share a document with Louis. So I click on the document button, and now I can literally do an application, a particular screen, or a tab. I can share something with Louis. Okay, so if I've got maybe a Word document open or a text file, I can literally share that with Louis if I wanted to. So that's making a call, sharing a call, a video call, and sharing a document. Really simple, really easy to configure and use. Okay, we're going to move down some of the buttons now. Obviously down here we've got the history button. So on the history button, this will show you when you've made calls, and it will show you whether it's an incoming call or an outgoing call, depending on whether the button is in or out. If you press on the I button to the right hand side, it will show you all the details when you last called, the length of the call, and the extension number. And obviously you can click on that to make a call back. So if that was an external number, you could click on it and it would literally call that particular user back. You get the same for voicemails. I haven't got any voicemails, but you can see, should you have any voicemails, it will show you the same sort of list of all the users. For contacts, okay, you have a list of contacts. This will show you the contacts that have been set up. So that'll be all of your users and extensions on the system, but it could also be a file that you've uploaded, a CSV file of all your customer contacts. And again, you can choose whether to have a global contact list, or you can have a private one. So I can see I've not got any private ones here, but I could create, you know, sandwich shop, and the telephone number. Oh, sorry, it's got to be in the +44 mode. There we go. Perfect. Now I've got a sandwich shop button there, and I could, if I wanted to, then call that particular user. That's one of my users that I've done. If I wanted to go back to the corporate directory, here, I've got the corporate directory, and I could search for any users that I want to within there. So that's your contacts. Conferences. Now I've set up a conference for this particular user. They've got a conference that they have access to. Now I saw you saw quickly a make conference, an easy conference to create someone to bring someone in, but this could be a predetermined conference that you know that you're going to have a conference call at a certain time. Everyone's going to dial in on a DDI number or an extension number. Not a problem. You can literally just click on the conference and you'll be accessing that conference call at a certain time. It will obviously ask you your name, your PIN number, etc. So it'll allow you into the conference. So, and again, once you're in the conference, if anyone else then joins or leaves, it will then say their name, X has joined the conference or Y is leaving the conference as you go through. Now you can have faxes as well. We do desktop faxing, which is a slight add-on to this application, but it's a really cool feature if you don't necessarily want a physical fax machine. So on here, I can click a fax and send a fax. I can put, if I've got several different fax services available, I can say who that fax service is from. And obviously, depending on which one I select here, it will show on the fax the relevant CLI number of the person that you're sending it on behalf of. On the recipient side, again, I can put the telephone number of the person it's going to go to, and whether or not I want to send it with a cover sheet. Now, with a cover sheet, I can have one that's already predetermined, so everyone sends the same cover sheet, not a problem. Or I can make a bespoke cover sheet with the subject and the message if I wanted to, either or. Once I've selected that, I can then add the relevant files. So I might want to send a document, might be a PDF document, it might be a Word document that I want to add to this particular user. So I could go to a particular Word document. Let's see if I can find something quickly. There we go. Yeah, there's a configuration guide that someone's asked for. There we go. So I've now sent a configuration guide for Yay-Link, which is a PDF, but it could have been a Word or document or a PDF document, literally. And then press the send button and off it goes. You will get a read receipt, remembering although it's sending it to a telephone number, it's actually sending it from an email address. So once the other person receives it, you will get a read receipt at the other end as well. Okay, so that's a fax. So that's all your buttons you've got on the left-hand side. Obviously, there's some settings buttons. You know, this is your username and password if you can't remember your password. And here's quite a good one, your primary device. Remembering, if you've got the premium license, you can have up to 9 devices. And when calls are ringing your DDI number or they are ringing your extension number, all of those devices can ring. But if you want a call that rings on, if they're ringing one of your queues or hunt groups to your individual, to a hunt group or your queue, then obviously you don't want all of your 9 devices to ring. So here's where you select which device is your primary device to receive calls from your queue or your hunt group, etc. Here you can see I can choose whether it's my web app or my Teams, but it could have been another user. It could have been my mobile phone app. It could have been my physical desk phone or another extension number, but the list will be shown here. Call waiting. If another call is waiting, you'll get a blip in your ear to say there's a call waiting. Do I want that feature enabled or disabled? And in default, that is enabled. Intercom, or what we like to call paging, it just means, do I want to allow someone to be able to page to me to my handset hands-free? It might be handy for things like if someone wants to page to say the hot food van's here or something like that, but you can have that. Parallel ringing. Parallel ringing, or an old way of saying that was manager secretary working. It just means that when you click on that particular button there, you can say what other telephone number or what other extension do you want to ring when it's called. It's especially handy if you've got maybe a manager of a company with a secretary, or a principal with a PA or something like that in a school that you wish to have it. You wish when someone rings those particular extensions, it will also ring on those users' extensions as well. But it can be any user, it can be another a voicemail extension, it can even be an external number, or it could be, which is what a lot of people like to do, if you don't have a corporate mobile and you don't want to install the mobile app on your phone, you can actually put your mobile phone as well. So you could do literally your mobile phone number and it will ring the mobile phone number, etc. if you wanted to. There we go, it's now ringing the mobile. Okay, so you could do that. You've got, in default, all your voicemails are sent as an email. So voicemail to email comes as standard with all licenses. So that will come, whether or not you want that, yes or no. In default, it's turned on. And once you've listened to that voicemail via an email, do you want this to be deleted? Do you want the voicemail to be deleted, yes or no? So you've got all of those under the user. Okay, so that should be the user section. Call forwarding, we did mention this here earlier under this key here where we had a couple of call forwarding. This is where you can create different profiles for different scenarios. So I'm going to create one for, say, meeting. I'm going to give it a nice little color. I'm going to give it purple and save. And what I'm going to do there is when I'm in a meeting, I want all of my calls to go to, and I can choose an extension number, one of my colleagues. So I want it to go to Louis. Or I could have said a group. I might have said, oh, I don't want it to go to group. I want it to go to, I want to go to the reception desk or one of my other queues. There we go. Another group, sales Sussex. So when I'm busy, all my calls are going to go to sales. Okay. You can also do the same for busy, no answer, or if you're not registered or you haven't logged on to the application. So in default, it's all set to voicemail, but you could literally send it to anything else you wanted to. Okay, so that's called forwarding. Queues. Queues are, you know, you would probably know them as hunt groups, but we call them queues. It's just, do I want to take calls on behalf of another queue? So at the moment, I'm only a member of the Sales Manchester queue or group, and I'm only going to receive calls for that. But it could be very busy for another particular team, and someone could say, could you start to take calls for the accounts team, please? They're really busy. Yeah, not a problem. Click on accounts team, press save, and now I'm taking calls on behalf of the accounts team. When all the calls in it becomes a little less busier, they say, no problems, you can come out the accounts team now, not a problem, because you can just literally highlight and remove yourself out of the accounts team. Yes, this can be done by the administrator of the system, but it just enables users to quickly take calls on behalf of other queues or groups if you wish to. Next one is function keys. Remember, right at the beginning, we saw all of these keys that are stored here. Well, they are configured here. Again, these can be configured by the administrator of the system, or an individual can use them. As you can see, I've got a number of keys here. These are my BLF keys or busy lamp keys. This should tell me when people are busy or free. And I can just click on this and I have a number of options. I have a BLF key, a function code. So do I want something for call pickup? Do I want something for call recording? I can have a speed dial number. So I can have something like sandwich shop again, etc. and press save. And there we go. I've now got the sandwich shop stored as a number. Okay, so you can have something like that, or you can have literally an intercom button. So if I wanted to page another extension, so if I wanted to page a particular user, so if I want to say intercom, and I'm going to do Ray page. There we go. I can now set that button as a paging button. It just means now all of those buttons are there. I can now page Ray, click on that button. It will ring my extension. It will then ring the other person's extension and I speak, but it comes straight through onto their handset without them picking it up. Okay, quite handy, you know, if you want to sort of make an announcement. Okay, if you want to do more than one page to a number of extensions, you will need to look at our Algo 8301 unit that provides multicast paging to a number of devices and paging units. Next one down, you've got is fax. This is where I set which fax I'm going to have. As you saw there, I've got the fax suffix that you saw I added to. You can remove and add different faxes if you wanted to. If I for another particular user, if I want to find another particular fax machine. Now, right at the beginning, I said that this application could be made as a WebRTC or a full fax client. Where do you download the full fax client to be installed? Absolutely, it's here. So obviously you've got a version for Windows and a version for Mac, and that will then give you the full fax client that looks exactly the same, no different. You can see I've got a version here, but it looks exactly the same. No difference to how it looks, but you can see it looks exactly the same. Okay, so that's where you can download the full fax client should you wish to have that version instead. There are advantages for it, especially because a lot of people will open up another tab, maybe the news, one of the news channels, and then they close down their browser. Obviously, the application falls over. Stops working, obviously, because it's not there. One of the other couple of features I wanted just to show you on here now, I've had this application open all the time, which is great, but you may wish to have it obviously minimized and you're working away. How do I know if a call's coming in? Well, it's not a problem because I can actually make a call from another phone. Call comes in and you can see you get this little icon that appears on the bottom of your screen. Once you click on it, it will then open up the application and then you could answer the call. So you've got that little application that you can see there. This is quite handy to have. I've got to show that one at the beginning, but it's really handy and quite easy to use. That really sums up the Cloudya application. And as you can see, it's a really simple application, clean application to use. If you want any further details, please speak to your account manager. Thank you.